Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Shivam Codes. Today I will be talking about file permissions in Linux. So there are two commands which are used to control the file permissions and file ownership. So first we'll be going over the chmod command, which is used to change the file permission. Chmod, which basically stands for change mode, is used to change file modes or access control list. Now you must have seen this kind of representation when you do long listing of files in Linux. So let's see this in action and try to understand what this actually means. So here you can see that there are some characters printed here, which might not make sense to you if you're not aware, but these basically represent the file permission. And this is something known as the owner and the group, which is mentioned here. Now I'll go in depth in this video, so make sure to stick around till the very end. So this file permission is basically divided into four sections. Let's go to the PPT to analyze this. So here, as we saw, that the file permission is divided into four sections. First one basically represents if it's a directory or a file. So if it's a D, then that means it's a directory. If there's a hyphen, then that means it is a file. Now the next is the owner. So here in this example, owner has all the permissions: read, write, and execute. There are only these permissions that one can have, which is read, write, and execute. Here in this example, the owner has all the three permissions. Even the group, which is the next one, has all the three permissions in our example. Finally, the others, they only have read and execute permission. Now, to understand how chmod command works, we have to dive a bit into how binary representation works. So here I have shown the binary representation of numbers from 0 to 7 using only 3 bits. So think of this, a single permission is 1 bit in Linux. Think of it that way. So read is a bit, write is a bit, and execute is a bit. If all the 3 bits are set, so in which example are all the 3 bits set? It is 7. In 7, all the 3 bits are 1, which basically represent read, write, and execute permission. Now, as an assessment, try to figure out if we want to have a read and execute permission only, and we don't want the write permission, then what should be the number? Make sure to pause the video and comment down your answer in the comment section. So that value is 5, because in 5, read is set to 1, write bit is set to 0, and execute bit is set to 1. So if we give 5 as the permission value, then only the read and execute permissions are given and write permission is not given. So let's now see this in action. Now that we understand the binary representation, how binary to decimal conversion happens and how Linux treats these bits as file permissions, let's dive deep into the terminal and try to understand how this works. So here we can see that this error.log has a read write permission for owner, which is Shivam, and it has only read permission for the group, which is the staff, and only read permission for others. So let's say if we want to change this, let's say we want to give read, write, and execute permission to the owner. So how are we going to do that? We'll use the chmod command. So what is the bit that will give us all the three permissions: read, write, and execute? So that basically means 111, which is the number 7. So we'll give 7 and we'll keep all the other values as it is. So we should only give the read permission, which is basically 100. So if we convert 100 to decimal, that is 4. So the file permission is 4. So we'll give chmod 744, then the file name, and it is applied. Now, if we see, we have the execute permission for the owner. Earlier, we only had read and write permission, but now we have the execute permission as well. Now, that is the magic of chmod. Now, you might be wondering, why is it even useful? So there's one important use case. Let's say you create a shell script and you want to execute it. But guess what? You don't have the permission to execute it. You will not be able to execute it. So in those scenarios, you have to use the chmod command to get yourself the execute permission. And only after that, you'll be able to execute that script. So chmod is a command which I regularly use in my day-to-day life. Hence, it is very important to understand. If you're finding it difficult to understand, you can rewatch the video and that should be helpful. Now that we understand how chmod command works, let's dive deep into chown command, which basically means change owner. It is used to change file owner and group. So let's dive deep into the terminal section to understand how chown command works and how to use it. So here, let's say we want to change this owner from Shivam to, let's say, root. So how are we going to do that? We'll use the change ownership command and we'll mention the new owner, which is the root. And then we'll enter the file name, which is okay. So to use this command, we have to use the sudo device. We don't have permission. Just asking password. Okay. Now, if you see that the error log file has its owner changed to root. Now, the same way we can also change the group, which is, let's say, so in my system, I have a group known as TTY. So I'll change it to that. You cannot rename it to anything. It has to be, so if you're changing the group, it has to be a relevant group and not just any group. You cannot just name it anything. So we'll change it. So I'll change it to TTY. And so we have to specify colon. After that, after the colon, it will consider this as the group. Before the colon, it will think of it as the owner. So I've not mentioned the owner. So it will stay the same, which is root. And the group should get changed from staff to TTY. So we can see that now the owner and group both have changed. So I'm changing back the permission to Shivam and staff for the error.log file. And you can see that I have got back the permissions. So to conclude, there are many more things to chmod and chown command. Make sure to check the man page for it to get an in-depth understanding of what else these things have to offer. The one of the main commands which you will be using day to day is the chmod command, which is used to change the mode of the file. So that is it for the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any questions, make sure to put them down in the comment section and I'll make sure to answer each and every comment. And I'll see you in the next one.